like any good millennial, I'm going to start by telling you something I heard on a podcast. It was an episode of This American Life called The Magic Show. In one of the episode segments, Teller, the Penn and Teller magician fame, was recounting the origins behind the performance of a magic trick. It was a classic trick, an old-school levitating ball. It was one Teller had mastered and put a new spin on, but in order to perform it, he knew that his mastery and innovation alone were not enough to capture an audience. In order to do so, the trick needed to be centered in a story. Teller worked to find that story. He showed the trick to friends and peers, canvassing opinions and trying different approaches, like presenting the ball as an unruly dog that he was training. But nothing felt right, until eventually something unexpected clicked. When reflecting on the times he had shown the trick to others, he realized those it had resonated most with were those who knew how it was being performed. By being in on this simple secret, those audiences were able to experience it in a different light. They could see the level of mastery on display, and they were amazed at how the trick was possible within that constraint. And so here it was, with just one simple line at the start of the story, at the start of the performance, the story central to the trick's performance was found. Now here is a trick that is done with a piece of thread. It's an anecdote that has stayed with me, and when I think about my work creating installations and exhibitions that open up the design and culture of video games. So The Grannies is part of that work. It is a multi-channel film installation I directed. It is designed to be shown across 2 room-sized projector screens. The film itself is a collage of screen recordings, interviews, and sound that chronicle the journey of a group of players, the Grannies, who broke outside the boundaries of the playable world in the phenomenally successful video game Red Dead Online by Rockstar Studios. In their travels beyond the edge of the world, the Grannies happen upon surreal landscapes and terrain. Hyperreal, these are the Grannies, by the way. Hyperreal textures clash, and hyperreal textures clash, unusual geometric shapes jut out of the ground. It's a space that might feel, at first, nonsensical, but it's in fact one born from intent. As games designers, the Grannies saw the deeper meaning that these spaces echoed. In the words of fellow Granny Ian McClarty, here beyond the boundaries of the game's playable area lay the detritus left over from the hurricane of the game's development. In this forbidden landscape lie the ruins of the craft, labour, and humanity of those who built the world. Like turning over a considered piece of embroidery to reveal the chaos of overlapping threads, broken patterns, and knots that show the history and path that human hands took to create it. But unlike many tangible material crafts, it is rare to see video games from this perspective, or for big companies to allow us to do so. When interviewed by British GQ about the development of Red Dead Redemption 2, executive producer and company co-founder Dan Houser stated, "Games are still magical. It's like they're made by elves. You turn on the screen and it's just a world that exists on TV. I think you gain something by not knowing how they're made. As much as we might lose something in terms of people's respect for what we do, I think their enjoyment of what we do is enhanced, which is probably more important." I disagree. This conflation of technology and magic is, of course, nothing new. As sci-fi author Arthur C. Clarke's frequently quoted third rule states, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Technology that we don't understand is a black box, and with no knowledge of the thread behind the scenes, nor the hands who pull it, it might as well be magic to us. It works because it works. As Houser's words acknowledge, to obfuscate the awareness of process and craft comes at the expense of a connection to the humanity of a work. Gone are the skills and talent, compromises, mistakes and ideas and collaborations of those who created it. Gone also is an accountability of the human decisions that shape the way any given technology functions, or people's ability to comprehend or confront it. So, my God, I'm ahead of time. So, if Red Dead Online is the levitating ball magic trick, then the story of the Granny's voyage beyond the playable area of that game is Teller's preceding opening line, giving an audience just enough awareness of the thread that holds the game's world together. The Granny's trespassing exploits infuse the world of Red Dead Online with a complexity and humanity that feels so much deeper than when simply seeing the game's world as intended. Just like the story that frames Teller's magic trick, the story of the Grannies is one that leaves an audience no longer simply impressed by the world of Red Dead Online. Now we are all struck by it. I think it's important for us to tell and teach people about the way that technology functions, especially in a world that is exponentially impacted by it. I think we can tell those stories in engaging and interesting ways, and I think we can also be impressed and enjoy those. And so now, here is a trick that's done with a piece of thread. Got 10 seconds, we want to hear the noise. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Noise!